On March 7th, 2018, Riot released Kai'Sa as a champion in League of Legends. While many took issue with her character design being contradictory to her lore, it's safe to say that her overall launch was fairly successful, at least as far as Riot higher-ups were concerned. What we didn't realize at the time was that Kai'Sa was but the first move in a larger gambit to bring back dead lore characters as actual champions. See, long before Kai'Sa was introduced, we had Kassadin, a man whose entire hometown was swallowed up by the Void, including his wife and child. What we didn't know for many years was that said child survived by merging with a Void parasite, thus becoming the Kai'Sa that we know today. Someone who began as a background character that perished in a champion's backstory would become a champion unto themselves. Following Kai'Sa's example, Riot would release two more characters in the same vein. The second was Senna, Lucian's wife who had her soul stolen by Thresh. And the third, the topic of today's video, was Yasuo's deceased brother, Yone. Now, I'll be honest here. Of the three revived champions we have, Yone is easily my least favorite. Yes, Kai'Sa has design flaws, but all of her stories thus far have been fantastic reads. And Senna, well, it was nice to see her turn from a vanilla damsel in distress to a proper badass. Until Rise of the Sentinels made her look like a complete idiot, but let's not go there. As for Yone, frankly, I think he should have just stayed dead, or at least be taken in a radically different direction. So, some background info. Yone is the older brother of Yasuo, a prodigy swordsman capable of wielding the legendary wind technique. Where Yone was calm, composed, and dutiful to a fault, Yasuo was brash, impulsive, and glory-seeking. When Noxian forces attacked their monastery, the brothers faced a disagreement. Yasuo wanted to take up arms and join the fight, but Yone wanted to stay behind and guard the monastery. Ultimately, Yasuo fled to face off against these invaders, but when he came back, he found that his master was dead. And not only that, but it appeared that his master had been killed by the wind technique, something it was believed that nobody but Yasuo could have wielded. We later find out that the master was killed by Riven in an accident, but everyone in Ionia believed Yasuo did it for the longest time, and so it was demanded that he pay with his life to atone. Not wanting to die for a crime he didn't commit, Yasuo fled in search of the true killer, while being hounded every step of the way by those he once called friends, and eventually Yone himself. Ultimately, Yone challenged Yasuo to a duel to the death, and lost. Then he woke up in the spirit realm, fought a demon, stole its sword, killed it, then woke up as a weird human-demon hybrid thing. What exactly is going on here? Honestly, not even Yone himself understands what happened, and his entire character arc right now is trying to figure out exactly what he even is at this point. As his bio states, Yone straight up doesn't even care about anything else anymore. The fact that his own brother killed him? His duty to protect the people? Yeah, forget all of that. I gotta go hunt demons until I can figure out the name of the one who's welded to my face as a mask. Initially, I wanted to try giving Yone a Runeterra rewrite episode of his own, but I think the issues here run far deeper than that. To be honest, of all the revived characters, Yone feels the most sloppily handled. Yasuo has, for years, been one of the most popular and iconic characters in League of Legends, in no small part due to his rather obnoxious kit. When you look at Yone and see that his gameplay is actually an even more annoying version of his brother's, it becomes fairly clear that his revival, more than any other, was a game design choice first and foremost and a lore decision second. Everything about this guy, from his motivation to his resurrection, just feels rushed. But the worst part is what his revival wound up doing to Yasuo's character. Yasuo is the Unforgiven. That's his champion title, and it's meant to signify that he's still being hunted for the blood he has on his hands. Not just his masters, but his brothers and anyone else who perished trying to hunt him down. Except in Confessions of a Broken Blade, the truth of that incident was revealed and Yasuo was effectively pardoned for his crimes. The Unforgiven has been, well, forgiven. Supposedly, the next step of his character arc was that Yasuo had yet to forgive himself, as he still had nightmares about the day he fought and killed his own brother over a misunderstanding. Okay, so the people forgave him, but Yasuo can't forgive himself. That's an interesting way to go and still make the champion title make sense. Except Yasuo then encounters Yone's demon ghost who tells him, "Nah bro, I don't care about that anymore. I'm gonna go hunt demons, you do whatever you want." And so Yasuo decides that he has literally nothing better to do than follow a fox lady he just met to go on a journey to the Shadow Isles. Yeah, all of this has just been leading up to an excuse to put Yasuo in the Ruined King game. Now, the events of that game are a bit much to tackle in this video, but long story short, that game puts Yasuo in a somewhat awkward position by the end of it. Ari found what she was looking for on the Shadow Isles and is now going off doing her own thing, while Yasuo decides that he wants to go to Noxus to help someone from his past. That someone is heavily implied to be Riven, and I won't deny that it could have been interesting to see Yasuo coming to Riven's aid and breaking her out of the Noxian holding cells. If the Sentinels of Light didn't beat him to it. So, what, Yasuo is just wandering around Noxus looking for Riven while she's off doing Sentinel stuff? Given that I doubt Riven would have just returned to Noxus after that event, or at the very least she's never given a reason to, I guess that reunion's going to have to wait. So yeah, I don't like the direction they took with Yone and Yasuo's character arcs, and I don't really think they can be salvaged properly in their current iterations. The ironic part? I think there's a very obvious solution to all of this in hindsight. I talked about this briefly in my Sentinel rewrite, but why not just make Yone undead? Like, proper undead. Have him brought back through the black mist and turned into a vengeful wraith who wants to hunt down the brother who murdered him. That way, you'd give Yasuo a much more meaningful connection to the Shadow Isles and a better reason to go there in the Ruined King game. I mean, they even have him fight a weird illusion version of Yone in that game, but I think it loses a bit of impact since he already kind of reconciled with the real one, if you'll recall. So yes, I do believe Yone should have been made a proper part of the Shadow Isles, and Yasuo's story would revolve around fleeing the literal, vengeful ghost of his brother's wrath, while also seeking some way to free Yone from the Black Mist's influence. This, in turn, would give Yone a more active, if antagonistic role in someone else's story, rather than searching for a truth that I honestly doubt Riot themselves have figured out yet. On that note, we could even give him a new title, Yone, the Unforgiving.